Hello and welcome to the channel. You may call me NeuroSciDM, and I hope that as you look through these videos, mostly going to be on scientific concepts and ideas, especially those in neuroscience, that you find some enjoyment and maybe learn a little bit of something you might not have known before. Or maybe this is a way for you to hear information you were told before or shown before in a different light. Now, just a little bit about me. Well, for one, I do have my doctorate, and it is in biomedical sciences with an emphasis in neuroscience. I got it at Marshall University in West Virginia in the United States, and mostly my training was in the field of electrophysiology, where I studied the electrical properties of neurons and how they can change during normal function. And then after that, after I defended the, my my doctoral thesis, I was a postdoctoral researcher in Atlanta for 6 years, and then I was a staff scientist in Nashville for almost two, where I still studied the function of neurons and their electrical properties during normal function and disease states, mostly epilepsy and Alzheimer's disease. And I studied a little bit of the mechanisms of sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. And I also studied how the electrical properties and functions of neurons were affected by the presence of neurochemicals in the brain that are viewed as neuromodulators or called neuromodulators, and these would be brain chemicals you would know as dopamine and noradrenaline and serotonin, all that good stuff. Now, you may be wondering why it is I sound like the way I do. Well, that's because at the time of the recording, I am having some neurological issues due to a car wreck I had in 2018. In the past, this episode of issues where my voice is different and my diction is funny and my vocabulary is not what it used to be, and my attention and concentration and executive function and working memory and sometimes my my pattern of walking and the presence of migraines. Um, they would usually go away after a flare up in about 1, maybe 2 months tops, but this current episode has been a little longer than usual, so I don't know if this is going to be permanent. If this, if my voice is distracting or unnerving, let me know in the comments and I'll see about getting a text to speech program so it's not so jarring. But I just wanted to let you know that This is not an AI voice. This is actually the voice that I have due to my neurological issues. Now, with that out of the way, what is the reason why I am doing this? Well, to be honest, I miss talking about science and sharing it with others. My dream was to be a scientific researcher and be a professor at a university where I could teach other people about the topics in science I'm really excited about. And I miss teaching people. That was actually one of the most fun things I would do as a grad student and postdoc was teaching and actually teaching people as a staff scientist how to be electrophysiologists. But I also just like teaching and tutoring people in science. I'm not very good at physics though. I'm mostly a concepts person. Math was always my weakest subject, but I could grasp subjects like biology, anatomy, and physiology pretty well, and I like talking about those. And I miss talking to people about science and showing them what's out there. And I wanted to get back into it somehow. And, well, it kind of goes with those first 2 points of missing talking about science and wanting to help get others into neuroscience. It's not going to be for everyone. I don't expect people to watch these videos and all of a sudden be like, oh, I want to change my career and be a neuroscientist. If that happens, that's great. Welcome to the club, and your presence will always be a bonus to the field and the people around you and the colleagues and friends that you will make. But if you just come away going, that's pretty cool. I would like to learn more and just kinda get a feel for what's out there in neuroscience. Kinda like a hobby, how people kinda like, you know, read history books or they get into nature and reading about birds or fish or other wildlife. That's kind of what I'm hoping for is just giving people who might be interested in science, and particularly in neuroscience, a little bit of enjoyment and learning. And on probably a more selfish note, I wanted to try and develop other skills and have them in my repertoire, like learning how to make and edit videos. Because who knows? Maybe I can have a little portfolio, and while I am looking for stable employment, I could point to these as kind of like what artists and writers do for their portfolios. Now, the types of content I want to do on the channel. Mostly I want to do a breakdown of the different concepts and topics in science as a whole, but to begin with, we're going to focus mostly in neuroscience, because that's where my specialty is. And in the future, if I can manage the time and the effort, and I can pay my bills somehow outside of doing this, I might do things like reviewing current topics. And those would mostly be as matter of fact videos. kinda like my breakdown videos. If I decide to do an opinion piece, I will clearly mark it in the title as an opinion piece. It'll probably be like it shows here on the screen where it says the first word is opinion and then I give a short title. Because I know not everyone wants to listen to opinion pieces on stuff and they just want the educational stuff. And that is perfectly fine with me, and I want to make it easier for them to be able to find those videos without feeling like they got scammed into seeing an opinion piece when they didn't want to. I might do some book reviews. Those are going to be a little harder to do because with my neurological issues, trying to read and digest material, even if it's just a news article from something like the Associated Press or the Belfast Telegram, um, is going to be a little more difficult because after a while my brain power runs down because of those neurological issues. But if I can, I will try to get a hold of the books and maybe do a review of the concepts in them. Um, it's also going to be a little difficult because those books are not cheap at all. I think the Hilly book on ions and neuronal function is at least $70 at the cheapest. But if I can do so, I will try to do so. And what I would also like to do, if I have the time, is maybe do some videos on the science behind some of the science fiction and science fantasy works that are out there. Things like Warhammer 40K, Halo, Mass Effect. There's actually a really cool science fantasy series from, I want to say, the late 60s or early 70s that begins with the warlock in spite of himself. That's really cool and has some interesting ideas. So, little things like that. But those won't be the biggest focus of the channel. Those would just be like little vanity projects to kind of break up all of the serious talk. So, I thank you all for coming. I know this is a long welcome video, and I am sorry for that. It's kinda how, well, I'm doing this off the cuff and just wanted to give you a very honest and authentic meet and greet with me. Um, like I said, if for some reason my voice is very unnerving or it is very distracting, let me know and I will see about doing a text to speech device instead. I don't want to scare people off. So I hope you all have a wonderful day and do take care. Bye.